What word comes to mind when we read these words? Wet nose, wagging tail, buddy, loyal? There is no substitute for the kind of happiness that dogs, also referred to as man's best friend, bring into your life. They make ordinary things, like taking a nap, eating a meal, or going for a walk, more enjoyable. Please stay to the very end to witness the narrative that has touched the hearts of millions of people worldwide. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. One of the purest types of happiness a person may have is adopting a dog. This happiness was felt by Chinese national Miss Wang when she acquired a small dog of her own. As she raised him, she created the most incredible memories. She purchased the puppy a variety of toys, taught him, groomed him, and took him to the park. But as time passed, she began to notice small details about him that gave her cause for concern. Crammed between two big buildings was the pet store. Wang was waiting for the business to open while seated in her vehicle. After weeks of putting it off, she had gathered up the courage to get herself out of bed. People had been recommending that she adopt a pet to keep her busy and fill the space ever since she moved into her own home. Wang was aware of the significant responsibility that owning a pet would entail. Although she wasn't trying to suggest that she wasn't prepared for that kind of responsibility, she was anxious about taking care of, feeding, bathing, and other aspects of a live being. But her attention had already been drawn to a specific animal. She wasn't only afraid. She was eager because she had always loved animals. It would be good to have someone welcome you, wait for you, and be delighted to see you when you got home. She was tired of returning home to an empty house. Wang was aware that juggling a pet and a full-time job might be a little challenging, but she was up for the challenge. Wang knew when the store sign turned to open that it was time to dash inside. As she walked into the store, the door's bell began to jingle. The store was empty, as one might anticipate. Wang was aware that she was running late, but she had to act now. She made the decision to explore the area. There were a variety of species present, some of which she was unaware were suitable for domestication. There were hamsters, turtles, frogs, and snakes in the glass jars. At the sight of a visitor, the birds in the cages began to chirp. Wang needed to choose. She needed to bring home an animal. Since she had always loved dogs, her decision wasn't all that difficult to make. She knew roughly what kind of dog she would like. Wang saw the Japanese Spitz puppy she wanted to bring home with her eyes. It was a little fluffy white puppy. It had curled into a tiny white cloud and was fast asleep. When Wang arrived at the puppy's cage, it cautiously opened its eyes. Its blue eyes were the most exquisite thing. She was going to take this puppy home, so she knew her hunt had come to an end here. Wang urged the salesman at the store to remove the puppy by calling out to him. She was done making decisions. She was going to have this fluffy infant as a pet now. She had no idea that her choice would set off a dramatic chain of events. The salesman brought the dog outside to greet Wang. Already she was falling hard for the little kid. She tried to pet him, but he didn't appear to notice or comprehend what was going on. Although Wang thought this response was a little strange, she didn't give it much thought until the puppy began licking her hands. He also appeared to like her. Wang took the puppy to his new home that evening. He was unsure about how to fit in at first. Wang surmised that it was because he had been raised in a cage. She reasoned that since he was still young, he would gradually become accustomed to this and feel more at home. Wang tried to get him used to her smell by giving him some warm milk for dinner and putting him in her bed. Wang was thrilled to receive some toys for her young puppy to play with. She gave him a bed, a variety of toys to play with and gnaw on, and bowls for food and drink. She was aware that young puppies would want to chew on everything. Wang saw that her little dog seemed to prefer the great outdoors. Although she would have cherished spending time in bed with him, his preferred activity was rolling around in the dirt. Because he was so small, she didn't feel safe letting him sleep outside, but it took him a while to become acclimated to his bed. Over the course of a few weeks, the little dog gradually increased in playfulness with Wang. She taught him some small tricks and gradually weaned him off of dog food. Even with the countless toys, Wang's sweater sleeves were his favorite snack. He cherished trailing her about the home. Wang was pleased with the tiny one's development. In just 3 months, the dog had developed splendidly. Over the last few months, he had undergone a lot of changes. The little tail expanded into a big, bushy tail as the soft hair thickened. He had lost interest in dog food for an unknown reason. Wang was becoming extremely inquisitive and perplexed by all of these changes. Wang enjoyed taking her new puppy to the dog park and watching him play, but she soon discovered that her dog did not get along with other dogs. They seemed to be on the verge of becoming afraid of him. As a result, Wang had to use a leash on him when they went for walks. She was baffled as to why the small creature was so fierce. Wang became aware of all the little distinctions that set the puppy apart from other dogs and puppies as he grew larger. His actions raised a number of concerns. He stopped being fond of dog food, avoided socializing with other dogs, in fact, he scared them away. And the strangest thing of all was that she had never heard him bark. Wang surmised that the puppy might not have liked this specific dog food because he had grown up in 3 months. The food was meant for younger puppies, but she reasoned that if she switched it out for large dog food, everything would work out. That didn't quite work out that way, though, because her puppy also refused to eat that. Wang suspected that this dog might actually be a mixed breed rather than a Japanese Spitz. Her dog was not really the cuddling type, but from what she could tell, this particular breed of canines was friendly and enjoyed cuddles. In addition to not being much of a fetch player, he liked to sleep alone. He didn't appear to be using any of the many tricks Wang had taught him when he was younger. Wang made the decision to consult a specialist regarding her dog. She needed to know why he was acting strangely and uneasy with other canines. It was also concerning that his appearance and appetite had changed. Wang made the decision to take her pet to the veterinarian so that he could be examined for any ailments. Wang thought about this for a long time before deciding it was time to consult the experts. She was aware that she needed some clarification. She went to the vet with her dog. It was difficult to stay in the waiting area since her dog started to bother the other dogs, who began to bark at him. Once more, Wang's dog was the only one not barking. Wang saw how everyone in the vicinity, including the clinic staff, was staring at her and her dog. Whispering and pointing were also heard. Although she thought it was extremely impolite, she understood that it was because he was upsetting the other dogs. She acted as though she was unaware of them all. She was unaware that her dog was the object of their attention due to his appearance. When it was finally her turn to walk inside and see the veterinarian, Wang exhaled with relief. She was surprised to see that the veterinarian got up as soon as she and her dog walked in. She scowled at the expression on his face, one of slight worry, but he seemed to wait for her to explain what was wrong. Wang began discussing the modifications she had observed in her dog during the previous several months. Wang was left perplexed by what the vet informed her after listening to her for a long time and giving her a worried face. The veterinarian informed her that what she had was actually a domesticated fox and not a Japanese Spitz dog. Based on the dog's dimensions and pointed traits, the veterinarian determined that the animal was a fox cub. Wang thought he was a Japanese Spitz when she purchased him from a pet store, so she was really perplexed. It's typical for these shops to sell fox cubs under the false pretenses of being dogs, the veterinarian informed her. Wang was shocked and felt betrayed, but she also understood this news very well. Wang came to know that this practice of marketing foxes as dogs is extremely popular in pet stores. Some of them even go so far as to sell foxes to individuals who are interested in purchasing them. Wang wanted to go back to the store and scream at the vendor, but she realized that she still cared for her pet, even if it was a fox. Therefore, it didn't matter. It made sense why her pet quit playing fetch and detested dog food. He never gave her a bark or snuggle. Now everything was clear. She was also informed by the veterinarian that these fox cubs have a unique smell that they take with them everywhere, and that it gets stronger as they get older. Fortunately, her fox had not yet shown it and smelled okay. Wang didn't say anything as she cast 1,000 queries in the vet's direction. Right now, she was more worried about what to do next. She was devoted to her pet, but she lacked the knowledge necessary to provide for it properly. The vet suggested Wang surrender her fox to the zoo. In this manner, she wouldn't have to worry about taking care of a wild animal because it would be in a setting more suited to it. Despite how reasonable the idea seemed, Wang wasn't fond of it. Even though it wasn't a dog, she didn't want to part with her pet. Wang stood to go after thanking the veterinarian. Despite the situation, she was still bonded to her cat and felt devastated when she left the veterinarian's clinic. How was she meant to just hand the animal over at this point? After nearly a year of having it at her house, Wang quickly developed an affection for the fox. Granted, she had liked it even before learning that it was a fox, but even now, nothing had changed for her. Wang kept the fox despite her better judgment advising her differently, even though she realized she was being stubborn. She couldn't bring herself to give it away, even though she knew she couldn't take care of a wild animal. Wang made the decision to alter its diet, giving it chicken and other meats for the time being. In an attempt to help it feel at home, she even went so far as to let it sleep outside. Wang tried to keep the fox and give it a comfortable home, but she knew that her efforts were in vain. For the most part, the fox stayed outside and occasionally didn't even enter the house. Wang felt that the fox was unhappy under her care, and she tried everything to make it feel comfortable, but it was not succeeding. Wang needed a reality check, which the fox's actions provided. She came to understand that the animal was supposed to be outside, living and playing, not cooped up inside a house. It was meant to be a part of the outside world. Wang made a terrible choice as a result of this revelation. Wang started looking into possible solutions for the fox. She remembered the veterinarian's recommendation to send the fox to a zoo. After realizing that this was the best course of action, she chose to get in touch with the nearby zoo and explain her predicament. She had a question for them. Would they be open to meeting her and adopting her fox? She was surprised to find that the zoo was eager to meet both her and the fox. They would be happy to have the animal for their exhibit, which also included other foxes. Wang was relieved that her search had come to an end, but she was also a little saddened by the thought that it would soon be time to say goodbye. Taking the fox to the zoo to see the staff she had spoken with was her decision. Wang brought the fox to meet the zoo's visitors, who were prepared to accept the animal, as was mentioned during the conversation. It would feel right at home because it would be kept among other foxes. It had a huge area to roam around in and play with other animals of its sort, thanks to the exhibits. Before putting the fox in the display, they brought it inside for a routine examination with Wang's consent to make sure it got along with other animals. Wang asked to see where the fox would be housed before departing, and the zoo staff were glad to show her. She was surprised to see how much the fox fit in. It was an incredible feeling. At last, it had friends who genuinely wanted to play with it and weren't afraid of it. Even though Wang was saddened by the sight, it was clear that she had made the right choice. Before being put back in the exhibit, the fox would spend a month in quarantine. Since this was no ordinary fox, rather, it had been domesticated, it would be difficult for it to adapt to living in a completely different habitat, which is why it was kept in isolation. The zoo determined that it would be preferable to place it in quarantine for the time being just to be safe. Wang was informed by the zoo staff that bringing it in was the appropriate decision. Because they are designed to be outdoors, foxes make poor home pets, as they can become destructive and wreck everything in their immediate environment. They also convey a scent that is unbearable to live with. Wang observed that the fox had grown to a height of 12 inches in just 3 months, growing quicker than a puppy. She was informed by zoo staff that fox growth was still ongoing and that these creatures grow to be very large. They were unable to survive indoors or in a domesticated environment for this additional reason. The zoo noticed Wang's grief and let her know that she could come see the fox for free whenever she wanted. Wang was grateful for their attempts to improve her condition. After months of consuming food it didn't like, she was relieved that the fox would now live in a place where it felt at home and would eventually be able to enjoy food that it liked. Wang made the decision to never visit a pet shop again. She would never advise someone to visit a pet store and would much prefer to adopt a puppy from a shelter. Furthermore, adopting is the greatest way to get an animal into your life because it gives a home to those who are most in need of one. Wang had to learn the hard way that purchasing a pet is definitely not the best course of action. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.